We're going handheld for a second here. The cruise news is on the way. Make sure you stay tuned for a special announcement about these shirts here, like this Cruise Nerd shirt. Tons of good news today. Great news for Carnival and Royal Cruisers. NCL, maybe not such good news, but I think they're doing just fine. And I make an inappropriate joke. Let's roll the intro. Hey, welcome to the Midships channel. I'm your Captain Corey, and thank you so much for stopping by the channel today. And if you're a Carnival cruiser or a Royal Caribbean cruiser, or just someone cruising out of Galveston, Texas, you might want to pay attention. But first, we have a question of the day, and today's question, we're getting back to our roots. It's going to be food related, of course, and my question to you is, when you're on a cruise, do you ever splurge and eat at the specialty dining? Let me know your answer in the comments below this video, and let me know the name of the restaurant that you like. Now, in today's cruise news, we have perhaps some very good news for those of you cruising out of Galveston. As I move my light, it's bothering me. We also have Carnival opening up a cruise port for the very first time, and we talk about a story that I mentioned a few days ago about a retired couple living full-time on a cruise ship that's taking the internet by storm and going viral. So why don't we just start there, because obviously you, as a subscriber to this channel, you are a subscriber, right? You've chosen to stay ahead of the curve news-wise. And since this channel picked up the story before it even went viral, days ago, you knew about it before all your friends did on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. So that's a good enough reason to subscribe now, isn't it? I'd appreciate it if you did. Okay, time to move on. It's cruise news story number 2, and we're talking cruise restarts for a couple ships. And no, they're not in the same company, they're not in the same cruise line. Nothing's the same about these ships, but let's start with what's going to be the more popular one, and that's the Carnival Magic. She's restarting operations today in Norfolk, Virginia. Guests are already on board the ship. They're having their sail away party. The drinks are already flowing. The Magic has typically been home porting in Port Canaveral, but she's going to call Norfolk, Virginia home for the next month before starting a short season up in New York City. There you go, New York cruisers. All right, let's talk about cruise ship number 2 to restart. And this one, it's a lot further south from the port of Palm Beach. And that ship? Well, it's the Margaritaville Paradise. She set sail for the first time ever yesterday afternoon, and we're already starting to see pictures and videos emerging from on board this ship. You better believe I'm gonna be scouring the internet, trying to bring you a little better understanding of just what this newly refurbished ship is like. Calling all cruise nerds and cruise t-shirt lovers, I wanna give you an update. Due to some delays and shortages from my original t-shirt provider here for the channel, I'm migrating all of my shirts that don't have the Midships logo on them over to my Amazon affiliate shop. If you'd like to get your hands on a design like this one to prove to the world that you're a cruise nerd or that you're loyal to Royal or any of my other designs, why don't you check my Amazon affiliate link in the description below and up here. Once you're there, click on the Professional Cruiser store. Yeah, that's right. I have a store section for new cruisers and for seasoned cruisers. Links are down below, and even if you're a new cruiser, you can check out the Pro Store. And speaking of me being a cruise nerd, I'm another type of nerd as well, and that's a space nerd. Speaking of which, yesterday when the Carnival Mardi Gras departed from Port Canaveral, they got a front row seat to one of SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket launches. And you should be able to see it on your screen now. There's the Mardi Gras on the left, and over there on the right, about midway up, that tiny little glowing dot, that's the rocket launch. Now, it might look tiny, small, and insignificant, but I assure you when you're there in person, it looks a lot bigger. And don't make any jokes about rocket sizes being bigger in person. Unless they're funny, the comment section is open for that one. But really, seriously, it looks a lot bigger in person. They are so impressive. And here's a top tip for your next cruise out of Port Canaveral. You ought to Google and see if there's any rocket launches scheduled that you might be able to see during your time there on the Space Coast. If you don't know, SpaceX launches almost once a week, if not every 2 weeks, from Port Canaveral, so you have a really good chance of catching a launch while you're in the area. And trust me, they're worth it. I'm a nerd. I know these things. All right, Galveston cruisers, pay attention. Hello, look at me. This means Royal Caribbean and Carnival cruisers. That construction project on I-45 that we talked about the other day, it's the freeway that links Houston to Galveston. Well, it's been causing a lot of delays for people arriving to the port. But those delays may be going away. It's been announced that the road closures, which were full-time, will now only take place overnight on weekdays, and I'm sure this is after intense backlash because of the closures. And these closures have caused most people to have a several-hour trip to the Galveston cruise port instead of the typical 45 to 60-minute drive that you'd normally face from the south side of Houston. Remember, this construction was so bad that ships actually had to delay departure because so many of their guests were late getting to the terminal as a result. So we've talked recently about Cunard Line being forced to cancel some cruises because they didn't have enough crew to work the ships. And some new numbers are emerging that support these claims. As a result of the pandemic, 39% of seafarers working in the cruise industry were laid off, with the lion's share of those individuals being from the hotel departments on board the cruise ships. Now, fast forward to today, only 60% of those laid off workers have returned to their positions, meaning that 40% of them didn't bother to come back to work at all, or they found other employment, or they're still unemployed. And it's no wonder they're not coming back with open arms to these cruise lines after seeing just how little job security they really had. Now, it's not to say that cruise lines are being mean or hateful to their employees or whatever. It's just to say that when your job becomes unviable because your company has no customers because it's shut down, you're not going to have your job anymore. So a lot of people had their eyes opened throughout the pandemic to that very thing, myself included. So please don't come at me in the comments saying I'm being harsh on these folks or whatever. I literally lost everything due to the pandemic. Now, the fact that workers haven't come back to ships and have probably moved on to other work, it's actually quite understandable that these folks would have moved on by now. But that leaves us in a position where cruise ships are getting more and more full occupancy-wise, and more cruise ships are back online now. So we might now have not enough workers to work on board these ships, which means cruise lines will need to entice crew back on board somehow, probably by offering higher wages and better benefits, which means we as cruisers will probably have to shoulder those higher costs. So get ready for that. And we've already started to see increases from cruise lines from the likes of Carnival and Norwegian Cruise Line. And speaking of Norwegian Cruise Line, there's rumblings going around that their ship, the Dawn, is experiencing a pretty higher than normal, I should say, outbreak of the pandemic on board, with one opinion website claiming as many as 120 cases in a single sailing. Now, unfortunately, I was unable to find a truly reliable source of information to further corroborate the matter, so we have to make do with details supplied by Cruise Law News. They gleefully report that the Dawn has been denied from stopping in port in Belgium as well as France because of COVID. But we here at the channel are not gleeful to report that so many people are sick. And we wish all of the passengers and crew of Norwegian Dawn a speedy and safe recovery. Geez, sometimes I make really poorly timed transitions to invite you on my group cruise. Just like I'm about to do when I choose to advertise it right after talking about an outbreak on board a cruise ship. But with all that aside, I promise Carnival runs an extremely safe and fun cruise, which is exactly where you can join me on October 24th, 2022. We're sailing out of Charleston, South Carolina, cruising on board the Carnival Sunshine, down to their private island, Half Moon Cay. This being my first group cruise ever, I'm doing something very special. For anyone who books into the group, you're invited to be part of the filming of a brand new intro for this channel. It's your chance to see yourself right in this box every time you tune in for my episodes. Also, you're going to get invited to participate in other content along the way. Plus, I'll be hosting several contests on board, as well as some giveaways, some stuff you've never seen before. So if you'd like more information, there's a link to the Group Cruise Facebook page in the description below. And if you made it this far into today's episode, please make sure you're subscribed with that thumbs up button tapped. Thanks for stopping by the channel today, and until tomorrow, we'll see ya on the Midships. You saw this shirt, right? I mean, this shirt is awesome. There's some other really cool ones. You should definitely check them out, but I'm kind of partial to the cruise nerd, because that's what I am. We'll see you tomorrow.
La 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 la